Biblical Shakers. The sad news that we begin this week with is that we are reading about more kings that did evil in the eyes of the Lord. The good news is that we only have 6 more chapters in 2 Kings. We are getting through this and finding out the importance of following our God completely, not just halfway. The chapters we will cover are 15 through 19, with Bart and Matt authoring the devotions for each day. Leaders profoundly affect the people they serve. They can either encourage or discourage devotion to God, both by their example and by the structure they give their organization. Good leaders put up no obstacles to faith in God or to right living. It is so refreshing to enter a business and see Christian symbols posted or hear Christian music over the speakers. My athletic trainer has motivational signs around his cubicle that reflect our God. My workout goes much better, for I know where my strength comes from and that I am caring for the body that has been gifted to me. You will find the leaders mentioned in chapter 15 not following their God. King Ahaz, who is written about in chapter 16, was a failure in his walk because he followed the wicked example of the kings of Israel. Each of us has a choice for who we will follow. We must be sure that they are strong Christian men and women. Ahaz not only failed in his walk, but in his warfare. He had no faith in God, so was defeated by the enemy. And finally, Ahaz failed in his worship when he borrowed a pattern from a heathen temple in making an altar instead of using the divine pattern. It was tragic of him to follow the pattern of the world instead of the heavenly one. God's suffering ran out in chapter 17 when he called for Assyria to carry Israel away. They forgot God's mercy. They imitated the ungodly, so that the true worship of Jehovah was corrupted by worldly practices. His chosen people turned a deaf ear to the preaching of the prophets and rejected the law of the Lord. And finally, they feared the Lord, but they manufactured their own religions. What God did to Israel, he can do to groups or individuals here today. After seeing their brothers and sisters carried away into exile, Judah still lapses into sin. Hezekiah was king at this time and was one of the few who was constantly aware of God's acts in the past and his interest in the events of every day. He is described as a king who had a close relationship with God and had developed a powerful prayer life. In the final 2 chapters, you will read about Hezekiah's strength along with his weaknesses. The prophet Isaiah messages Hezekiah at the end of chapter 19 with words from the Lord filled with hope to restore their faith. Next week, another 5 chapters in the book of 2 Kings. Please join us, won't you? And remember, Biblical Shakers will make reading the Bible way more enjoyable for you. And I pray that the Lord will put a hunger on your heart.